The average person spends over 3 hours per day on highly stimulating activities. Is that too long? Are there any risks? How much is too much? Anxiety and depression prevalence has increased by 70% in the past 25 years in young people. If you considered the driving force, in fact, are you able to resist the temptations of highly stimulating activities? Let's find out in the game of life. Option A, social media. Option B, writing notes. Which do you prefer? I think the answer's clear, social media. Between a social message and a work email, I think the answer is again a social message. They're easier to do. Would you do PC gaming or solo meditation? Probably PC gaming, it's more fun. Learning or funny videos? Well, I think funny videos takes that one. Synthetic high and then party? I'm going to say no to both, but your answers may vary. Foosball versus gym work? That's a tough choice, but I think foosball wins that one. Sleep early or game late? You're probably going to choose gaming late. Why is it easier to make the wrong choices? Are they the wrong choices? Or are they just easier? Or maybe they're just more rewarding? Ever considered a dopamine detox? A dopamine detox is a process of reducing or cutting back on behaviors or substances that increase dopamine levels. Kind of like this. Are you feeling like you're on cloud 9? Are you hooked? Can a dopamine detox help boost mood? Yes, but the reason why will surprise you. Let's do a deep dive with the backing of a PhD in neuroscience. Stimulating experiences do impact on nerve cell activity, which creates that fuzzy rush-like feeling. Dopamine is involved, and a detox is a myth. I know you're surprised by that one. Dopamine is a brain chemical that regulates motivation, pleasure, reward, mood, attention, and movement control. It's also released in response to pleasurable experiences, signaling to the brain to repeat them. Now, dopamine is produced in several regions of the brain, including the substantia nigra, the hypothalamus, and the basal ganglia. But how's the brain structured? You might be familiar with the prefrontal cortex. Thinking, temporal lobe, very famous for memory, occipital lobe, critical role in vision, parietal lobe, key role sensory processing, and lastly the cerebellum, fine movement control. So where does dopamine fit in? Well, dopamine is a neurotransmitter, and neurotransmitters are chemical messengers used in the brain connections. These connections are called synapses. Now, they regulate things like muscle and memory, stress and alertness, motivation, pleasure and reward, and antioxidants and detoxifications, the sleep-wake cycle, mood and appetite. But there are also hormones. Now, they are chemical messengers used by the brain to communicate within the body, and they regulate things like fluid balance, stress response, immunity, reproduction, and menstruation, pregnancy and masculinity, metabolic rate and metabolism. Simply put, what are synapses? Well, think of it like wires connecting cells. Now, the junction between two wires, or neurons, will be the synapse. Now, at this point, we have an electrical signal being converted into a chemical signal, the neurotransmitter, and then back into an electrical signal, making neurotransmitters the chemical link between synapses. What is synaptic plasticity? Well, these connections can change through experiences, and neurons themselves have a cell body. Think of it like a small city that controls everything in and around the cell. So essentially, the neuron is the thinking unit. You'd be familiar with cell structure, where there's this lipid membrane that creates a barrier between the inside and outside of the cell, actually creating electrical gradient. Now, intracellular signaling triggers changes in gene regulation, as well as the production of more proteins and hormones, which themselves are made up of sugar, protein, and lipid. You are what you eat. And those are made up of atoms, many multitudes of them. So how exactly would a dopamine detox work? Well, Science doesn't support a dopamine detox. In fact, drastically reducing your dopamine levels can negatively impact health. Low dopamine symptoms include headache, dizziness, irregular heartbeat, tremors, movement, difficulty, and more. So why does a detox work? Well, giving up addicting behaviors allows us to switch in more natural activities, like exercise, which increases dopamine, serotonin, and norepinephrine, which also improves diet, which actually increases dopamine, serotonin, and acetylcholine. It also improves our sleep through increasing dopamine, serotonin, and melatonin, the sleep hormone. It also improves mindfulness, which increases dopamine, serotonin, and GABA, another neurotransmitter. And it improves social support, which increases oxytocin, the bonding hormone. It also improves our chances of help-seeking behavior, which increases dopamine and oxytocin. So cutting back on this gives you control over your natural system, so you can get back to enjoying life. But how can we make the tough choices lead to more positive outcomes more frequently? Are you ready for a quick survey? I think that's the best way to do this. Join me on this one. You may want to write down your answers as we fly through, but step 1 is to identify, well, to what degree are you having trouble managing your dopamine levels? Question 1. On a typical day, how many hours do you spend engaged in highly stimulating activities, such as social media, video games, or streaming services? Is it A, 1 to 2 hours, B, 3 to 4 hours, or C, 5 or more hours? Now you'll notice on these questions, I've listed a tier level. Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3. I'll explain those shortly, but take note of those for now while you're noting your answers down. Second question. When you engage in highly stimulating activities, do you find it difficult to take a break? Option A, not difficult. Option B, somewhat difficult. Or option C, very difficult. Now, if you're noticing that you're answering Tier 1, that likely means you have passive engagement with full control. If your answers are mostly Tier 2, it means you have moderate engagement with partial control. And if you're answering Tier 3 more often than not, it means you have overwhelming engagement with no control. Third question. Do you feel a sense of guilt or shame after engaging in highly stimulating activities for an extended period of time? Answer A, no. B, sometimes. C, often. Question 4. When you are unable to engage in highly stimulating activities, do you feel anxious or irritable? Option A, no. B, sometimes. C, often. Have you ever tried to cut back on your engagement with highly stimulating activities, but found it difficult? Option A, no. Option B, once or twice. Option C, multiple times. Now for step 2, we need to reflect. Now if most of your answers fell in Tier 1, likely you have passive engagement and full control. As a sample response, maybe you would say, I watch TV for an hour every night before bed, but I'm able to turn it off and go to sleep without any trouble. For Tier 2, you have moderate engagement and some control, but not full control. Example, I spend a few hours a day browsing social media, but I try to limit my usage, and I take breaks when I notice it's becoming too much. And Tier 3, you're overwhelmed and have no control. Example response, I find myself spending all day on my phone or computer, even when I know I should be doing something else. It feels like I can't stop, and it's starting to interfere with my work and relationships. Step 3. We need to create a plan. Now take note, this does not replace seeking medical advice, but if you are worried about your level of control, seeking advice is the right path. For Tier 3, regaining control of your natural system is possible, but difficult. Your baseline dopamine levels need to be restored, hence the merits of a detox. Try cutting down by substituting in more natural highs. Learn a new skill. Pick up a new hobby. Get into nature. Seek help from a friend that you trust. Seeking professional help can help you regain control. Tier 2. Take note, this does not replace seeking medical advice, but if you are worried about your level of control, seeking advice is the right path. Regaining control of your natural system is straightforward, but difficult. Your baseline dopamine levels are stuck in a cycle that can lead you to Tier 3. Replacing highly stimulating activities with more natural highs will be key. Set a fitness goal, get a gym membership, message a friend and get into nature. Set a goal to learn a new skill. Tier 1. Take note, this does not replace seeking medical advice, but if you are worried about your level of control, seeking advice is the right path. Maintaining control over your natural system is key, but generally you're managing okay. Your baseline dopamine levels are likely in a normal range, but without care, they could build up to Tier 2. Consider replacing highly stimulating activities with more natural highs. Consider setting a time limit on high-reward activities. Focus on self-growth to naturally reduce high-reward activities. Quick summary. Looking for more guidance? Check out my website, www.areteerga.com. If you have any tips or tricks that could benefit others, share them in the comments. I'm sure others will appreciate it. When was the last time that you detoxed from highly stimulating activities? No time like the present. What are the key benefits we can expect? While reducing stimulation can help with mindfulness, emotional regulation, stress management, substance abuse recovery, addiction recovery, mental health improvement, improved focus and attention, mind-body wellness, holistic health, neuroscience, and brain health. If you enjoyed today's video, consider subscribing. What are we about on Areteerga? Well, Areteerga is all about reaching your full potential in life. If you have a topic request, absolutely feel free to leave a comment. Let me know what you would like to see in future videos. I'll do my best to incorporate them. And on that note, I guess I should put my phone away and maybe go and sleep instead. And here's a quick statistical reference. Have a good one. Good luck on that detox. Let us know how you go.